There's only one chemical in the brain to focus on right now, and it decides everything, whether today's gonna be a win or a waste. It's the reason that some guys wake up and hit that 5 a.m. workout, or start that business, or talk to that girl, and that all the others are starting tomorrow. It's called dopamine, and everything you've been told about it is completely wrong. It's not the pleasure chemical that it's been made out to be. It's the part of our brains that make us want to get up and go achieve, go do, and win. And it's the reason that we're seeing the most unmotivated, lethargic, undisciplined generation the world has ever known. Because today's world is designed to torch our dopamine between our phones, our diet, porn, sugar, vapes, the list goes on. Yet we sit here and wonder why suicide rates are the highest they've ever been, marriages and relationships are at the lowest they've ever been, and why nobody wants to put any effort into anything. By the end of this video, I'm going to teach you guys everything you need to know about dopamine, including what practices I'm doing for myself that are working, what others are doing that have proven results, and by the end of this video, you will have already taken the first step into perfected, optimized dopamine levels. Quick note before we get started, I'm not a doctor, and nothing I say in this video should be misconstrued with medical advice. If you're going to follow through with any of the treatments we talk about today, make sure you're only doing so under direct supervision of a medical professional. Now, let's get started. The biggest misconception I continue to hear about dopamine is that it's the feel-good chemical, or that it's going to make you feel this serene bliss, and that is not dopamine. That's often confused with serotonin. Dopamine's the chemical in your brain that makes you want to go chase that makes you have the ambition to go achieve things so that you can feel that serotonin. So I understand where people make this misconception. It's important to note that if we're going to optimize for dopamine, that we know where we're aiming, because otherwise we're just throwing darts at a board blindfolded. When it comes to improving any function of the body, it's important to know what it's going to feel or look like when we achieve those results so that we know if our experiment is going well. I firmly believe I've cracked the code on dopamine as well as what it's supposed to feel like, and I'll tell you a few things that have happened to me so far. Number one, procrastination goes out the window. It's impossible to put things off when your dopamine is responding correctly, because dopamine is the complete opposite bodily response of procrastination. Procrastination is the way that your brain finds a way to justify reasons for not taking action now. Oftentimes our internal dialogue will say things like, I need a rest moment right now, or my body or brain is not prepared for this activity, so I'm gonna do it later. That's crap most of the time. Something else I've been noticing is a true excitement and love for the little things that I do every day that I oftentimes take for granted. Even something as simple as making these videos for you guys, I really find enjoyment in doing the research leading up to them, as well as trying the practices on myself to see the benefits that come, because I know, number one, if it works great for me, I'm gonna feel good, but knowing that I can pass that feeling on to others feels even better. For most people, when dopamine is crashed, these small tasks feel more like monotony. Things like having a made bed to get into at night start feeling now like, oh, I have to make my bed every day, or things like going to exercise, which should feel incredible because you're bettering your mind and body, now feel like, oh man, I can't believe I have to go exercise. What a drag. This is a negatively compounding effect, typically results in brain fog, low energy, no libido, and just an overall dreading of existence. So why does this happen? How did we get like this? Why is it that some people walk around with an ambition and a love of life while other people start feeling this cloud of negativity take over all of their daily actions? And it's not always so polar, really good or really bad. Some people find themselves somewhere in the middle and are just trying to get to the better end of the spectrum, and that's what I want to accomplish in this video. We know our dopamine is our body's reward system, what our body feels like when we go and do something difficult and achieve it. Most people in the modern era crash after they have a big win, or do some sort of downward spiral after a big win, because their dopamine system is so far damaged. I'll give you a perfect example of this. Something that's really well documented in the social spheres of today's men, specifically men under 40, is this idea of post-nut clarity. You might have heard of it before. Post-nut clarity is nothing more than a damaged dopamine system. It's essentially this feeling after sexual activity that you have this deep wave of negative emotion, regret, or that it wasn't worth it for some reason, and it's usually because your internal reward system, your drive, your ambition to do anything has now depleted because you've pulled all the reserves out of your bank. It's really helpful to think of dopamine like a piggy bank, and every time that you scroll on your phone or watch porn or hit a vape or eat something sugary or whatever, you're just pulling every day from this piggy bank. So when you have a huge withdrawal like sexual activity, there's nothing left in your bank account because you've always been pulling it from these other areas the whole time. Your brain gets used to things being so easy. So now when anything takes real effort, it no longer feels worth it because I could have gotten this result way easier from any of the other modalities that we have in the technology warehouse today. That's just one example, but what we see today is a society that has driven so far away from the real dopamine generating activities that everything else that we've built our world around makes it seem pointless. Why go talk to a real person? I have connection here on my phone. Why eat something super healthy? I can eat this thing that tastes really good. Why go outside, be in the the sun and get active when I can sit inside and play video games? Brain doesn't know the difference in the short term. It's still thinking that it's doing the right thing because it's getting the dopamine spike. So we're teaching it to reward the wrong behaviors. And it creates this negative feedback loop where now nothing else other than these completely overstimulating activities bring the brain any sense of joy, pride, or any real sense of life. So now even if you wanted to, talking to real women is off the table because you're so used to having the most attractive women on the planet at the swipe of a finger. Now let's say you're really good with women and you actually get attractive ones. Well, these ones aren't going to give you any problems or talk back to you or have any of the real problems that human beings have. You're never going to work hard. You're never going to go try to get that promotion or start that company because why would you? You have everything you need to feel satiated right in the palm of your hand. But have no fear, all hope is not lost. The whole purpose of this page is how to improve ourselves, improve our minds, and improve our bodies, and that is what we're going to do next. I accidentally stumbled upon a protocol that I'm going to share with you guys right now that has made a world of difference for me in terms of my own dopamine production. I didn't realize mine was crashed until I felt like what it was like to have it again. All of a sudden, I'm doing the little things again. I used to read every day, and I hadn't been doing that in the last 8 months. Now I'm back to reading every morning. I get my morning sunlight, and I just feel more enthralled with the things I do. But a lot of that started with this protocol I'm going to share with you right now. Very first thing that I did to fix my dopamine was SS31. And this is part of my overall mitochondrial protocol, which play an enormous role in your dopamine production, which I probably should have realized sooner, but I didn't go ahead and do the research until I started feeling this different level of dopamine. I'm like, what is contributing to this? Come to find out that just like everything, the mitochondria is the main source when it comes to anything dopamine related. If you're new to this page, SS31 is phenomenal at restoring our mitochondrial membrane so that the extra energy and the extra power that the mitochondria are putting out are not being wasted and leaking into the cells and even providing toxic chemicals called ROSs. Most people don't even realize their mitochondrial membranes are damaged because historically there haven't been many ways to check until now. But making this shift poses a really large difference in just your overall energy and output about everything you're going to do. You immediately feel those feelings of tiredness just start to leave your body because you're not wasting energy anymore. So now you've got all the energy in the world. What are you going to do with it? Following the SS31 and where I really noticed the effects kick in happened from MOTS-c. This is what I believe is going to be the next really popular peptide in 2026, 2027, because more and more people are realizing how impactful the mitochondria is on the entire body. And I think MOTS-c is going to be at the forefront of it. MOTS-c, to describe it simply, is just going to make it so that the energy the mitochondria is putting out is actually getting refined and used properly so that motivation is no longer a spike and then a drop. It's just a constant flow of feeling ambitious, of feeling like you want to go achieve and do things all the time. As always, I don't just provide the peptides in my stacks, I also give you supplements to pair with them. And for these two, specifically as they relate to dopamine, I would recommend CoQ10 and vitamin B. Dopamine can't even be produced in the brain without vitamin B, and CoQ10 just makes the mitochondria even more efficient and offers an even higher level of cellular metabolism. If we imagine the mitochondria for what it is, which is the powerhouse, let's say the power plant of the cell, the MOTS-c is what's going to upgrade our power plant and give us more power. The CoQ10 and the vitamin B are more like the coolant and the fueling system, giving the power plant the necessary pieces to operate at its highest level. Another peptide I did recently that I really contribute to this is Pinealon. I didn't realize how powerful Pinealon was, especially for people who are trying to improve their brain specifically, because Pinealon makes all of the signals that are going to all of the different receptors in the brain louder so that the receptors don't have to work as hard to hear them. In this case, it's GDNF, which is designed to stimulate our dopamine neurons, keeping them alive and working at their best rate. It's kind of like if our phones were the direct remote of our brains, but the only way to activate it was with Siri. Problem is, my phone's all the way over here and I'm all the way back here. Adding in Pinealon is like moving the phone closer to your mouth so that it hears every instruction and there's no mishaps in between. It just makes the signal louder. With this, I would pair things like vitamin C, which is going to help keep those signals and airways clear, essentially acting like a rust preventer for your brain. The three peptides we talked about so far are a little bit more systemic, meaning that they're targeting other parts of the body to make our dopamine receptors happen at a higher functioning rate through different modalities. The next two I'm going to go over are directly targeting the brain and the areas that produce dopamine themselves. That is the ultimate Russian combo, Semax Selank. If you're new to my page and you haven't heard me talk about these yet, they are incredibly effective for things like people who work difficult jobs, people who experience a lot of stress, or anyone who just needs to be focused during the day and wants to rest peacefully at night. Cmax directly turns up dopamine in the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain responsible for decision making. This is where taking that vitamin B becomes really effective. The vitamin B is kind of like the wood logs on the fire. The Cmax is like adding a turbo booster to your brain, and the vitamin B is like adding in coolant to make sure the engine doesn't overheat and fry your brain. Now, for a lot of people, being this wound up is really good during the day, but what happens when you get to night? Now it's time to go to bed, and your brain is still so wired. This is where you need Selank is going to offer this extreme de-stress of the body. It balances your dopamine with your calm signals to incentivize your brain to reward feeling relaxed. It stops that feeling of the chase. It stops that feeling of I need to do more right now, and it puts you in the state of I am optimizing myself by being in the most rested and rejuvenating state possible while I go to bed. Which, if you're in business, you know how difficult that switch can be, because you always want to be on, you always want to be producing, but most people don't realize when you're always putting it on like that and when you're always working, you end up hurting yourself more than helping, because your ideas start to turn to crap because you're overrunning the engine. I like to pair this with magnesium, especially before bed. It just makes for a smoother, very calm, very mellow sleep so that you wake up fully refreshed and recharged, ready to attack the next day. This protocol has been life-changing for me, and the funny part is it compounds, because once you feel this desire, once you feel this ambition to win again, you start doing all the other little things to help you even more. So some of the other practices I've involved that have made worlds of difference, starting with the first and most impactful in my opinion, morning sunlight within 20 minutes of waking up. Go outside as soon as you can, as soon as you wake up. Don't look at your phone. Get in the sun. I personally like to do an audiobook, so I look at my phone for like 3 seconds while I open up Spotify and click play, and I will play this audiobook for about 15 to 20 minutes while I sit in the morning sun, either sitting upright, laying down, or whatever, and it feels incredible. It just resets your dopamine system to say, number one, I'm awake. This is when I wake up. This is when I'm going to be lively. It activates the brain, but not in a stressful way, in more of a self-education way. Me personally, I like to read a lot of educational books. I like to read things about psychology, about medicine, about health, about wellness, about business, all the things that could possibly improve my life. So it feels incredibly serene when I can start my day like that, and I can feel it the rest of the day. I'm just on it because I started my day the right way. But when you immediately get on your phone in the morning, sit in bed and doom scroll, you're already pulling out all of the money out of your piggy bank. You're telling your body, immediately as I woke up, I'm getting rewards. I get to feel good. I get to indulge in whatever I want all the time, and I don't have to work hard for anything. Don't even get me started on morning masturbation. Nothing worse you can do for your own internal reward system to tell yourself, I've already achieved everything I need in order to do my one basic function as a person, which is reproduce. And your brain and body do not know the difference between what's on your phone and what's in real life. Some people really like cold showers. I've gone through phases of this. I like it after I do maybe like a morning ab workout, or if I get in the sauna or something like that. But it's just a normal wake up thing. It's okay. It definitely works. You know, people see upwards of 200% increases of their dopamine, but I don't personally think it makes sense to want to spike your dopamine that high before going into your day, because now you will eventually become reliant on that in order to have a high functioning day. There's probably others who disagree with that logic, but that's just how I see it based on what I understand about dopamine. I'm more than open to criticism and would love to hear someone's feedback. Another really effective dopamine raiser is hard exercise, which is funny because dopamine is what makes you want to do hard exercise in the first place. So again, all of this stuff starts to compound. You just have to start taking those first steps. After strenuous movement, pushing your body and your brain past limits that you didn't think it could achieve, your body now understands that this is what reward should feel like. It should feel difficult. It should feel like some sort of gratification in order to do hard things. And this is where I get really invested into things like delayed gratification, which if you're someone who's ever worked in a high stress job, you know exactly what this feels like. Or if you're someone who's ever put a lot of time and effort into anything before reaping the benefits, you know exactly how much better this feels. The more practice you can get at these things, the higher the dopamine system in your brain will work and incentivize you to want to do more difficult delayed gratification things, which to some people might sound like a worse nightmare. Why would I want to do all this stuff that is only going to come give me benefit later? The answer is because that's where all the best stuff comes from. Nobody builds a business overnight. Nobody finds their wife overnight. And most of the people that do those things, if they find some way to do it, as soon as they come up is as fast as they come down. And it's a horrible system to get yourself involved into. So the best thing I've personally found for myself is finding things that take extra levels of difficulty. Now, that doesn't mean working harder, not smarter. Some of the things I do for my body and brain in order to expedite my physical and mental results are the direct recipient of what some would call taking shortcuts. But to me, it's all the research that I did, all the studying that I did to find out how these compounds are going to affect the body and make sure I'm not getting negative side effects, as well as what I need to pair with everything in order to get the most out of it. So to me, it's still delayed gratification, because although I didn't have to work out for 10 years to get the same results that you did, it only took me maybe 2 or 3 or even less. Well, there's ways to work smarter, not harder. harder. Just because it takes longer doesn't mean it's better. So what I mean by this is saying find difficult things to do, not time-consuming things to do. There's a huge difference between the two, and this is where I think a lot of people mess this up. Something else I'll finish this video off with is that I think there's a couple supplements that almost everybody should take in order to see benefit when it comes to their dopamine. The first one I would take on an as-needed basis. If you use it all the time, the effects will begin to wear off, and that is L-tyrosine, which are the direct building blocks, tyrosine, where dopamine comes from. Next on the list is uridine, which is already part of my cognitive stack as a supplement, and it just adds more receptors, more docking points for dopamine to land on the brain. And the last of which I think almost everybody should be on unless you have a predisposed medical condition is fish oil. There's not many things better for just keeping overall brain functionality and making sure it's still working. Remember, your brain is like a piggy bank, and every time you use some cheap dopamine, you're taking an expensive withdrawal out of your account. The goal here is to rewire your internal dopamine workings to create and foster the best environment for dopamine productions and completely reshape your external habits in order to not spike dopamine unjustly and also achieve dopamine in the realest, rawest sense fashion. So guys, if you're interested in improving your mind, your body, both internally and externally, that's everything I post on this page. And to learn more about this, I would hit the subscribe button down below and turn on post notifications because I post 2 videos like this every single week. So if you want to learn more, follow now, turn on post notifications, and I will see you guys in the next one.